Hi everybody, welcome back. The purpose of today's video is just to recap and review observation and inference from last week. Do you remember jar A and jar B? Last week, I just made some simple observations about each jar. I made simple qualitative observations. I used my sense of sight. I noticed that they were both about the same color, caramel color. I used my sense of smell. One was sweet, the other was sweet, but almost had a little bit of a bitter. I touched them. They both kind of felt wet, except jar B was real sticky. What else? I listened to them. They were both sloshy around. And when I tasted them, this one had kind of a bitter taste and this one was extremely sweet. So you guys did really well. Most people guessed that jar A was either soda or iced tea. Iced tea was the correct answer. And for jar B, most people guessed that it was syrup or honey, something that was more viscous or flowed a little bit thicker. And it ended up being homemade maple syrup. So nice job with your using my qualitative observations to come up with your conclusion or your inference. To go a little bit further with that, you guys did your lab last week. And first thing I wanted you to do was to get a pair of scissors. For the lab, I wanted you to make, was it 4 or 5 observations? Maybe it was 4 observations for the lab. I wanted at least one of those observations to be quantitative. Remember, quantitative is a quantity, so we needed a number. So the scissors, I see 2 holes in it, or I see 2 blades. Those are your quantitative. Or when it's closed, I see 1 point. If you said something like, it can cut paper, you would have had to have actually physically cut the paper to have seen that. Otherwise, you were inferring that the sharp edge could cut the paper. You could touch it and say that it feels cold like metal, or the handles feel like hard plastic. Those were good. And then you didn't need to do the inference or the conclusion because I told you that it was going to be scissors. For tape, you had a piece of tape. You could feel that it was sticky. You could see that it was sticky on one side. There's your quantitative. Some people said it was flat or that it was clear. If you told me it can hold paper together, you had to physically be putting paper together for that to be an observation. Otherwise, you're inferring or concluding that the sticky side could hold it together. So you got to be careful with those kind of observations. The other thing I said to pick out food, whatever, your choice. I just happened to grab a lemon. I see it's a yellow color. I can feel it's bumpy rough on the outside. I can smell it has a real citrusy smell. And when I taste it, it's extremely sour. I'm going to infer then that it's a lemon. And then you guys chose lots of good mystery objects. We had phones, phone cases. Trying to remember what some of the others were. I think one of them was like a gaming controller. And some I couldn't quite guess based on if your observations were very generic. I wasn't able to guess them, but that's okay. As long as your observations were using one of your 5 senses and had a quantitative, a number amount. You did great with that. If you did not do the lab yet and we're already into the next week, you are still welcome to go back, do the lab. Okay, you can still get credit for it. Email me, stop into my office hours. I'd love to be able to help you. So to move on here a little bit, observation and inference, fairly straightforward. Use your 5 senses, conclude what it is. We start to get into a gray area when we're asked to make a prediction. A prediction is a guess about what's going to happen, but it's based on past experiences. You've already maybe experienced the event, or you've seen it, or you've read about it, watch something about it. You make a prediction based on past experience. To make your predictions more accurate, we can use graphs. So tune into the next video for a lesson on predictions, graphs, and all the stuff that goes with them. See you in a few minutes.